Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, you're ready to go.
All right, thank you. I want to call the Health and Human Development Committee to order for August 17th at 9:05 a.m. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Alderman Vollmer,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Sanye, Chair Boyd,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Sanye. We have two present. We have not established a quorum.
No, ma'am, we have not. Okay, so
I'll text Schweitzer if you want to text Sharon. Let's see if we can get him wake up.
Sharon's not in the city. I knew she wouldn't be there.
Alderwoman Schweitzer is out of the country.
Okay.
All right. So all we got left is Sonia.
Yeah, she's trying to log on now.
Okay.
Okay, she has a broken link. All right. Okay, so we'll skip approval of minutes until we can get a quorum. And then we'll look at Board Bill 42. And that is a grant for the Health Department, and it's from the Missouri Association of Area Aging or Aging. Madam Clerk, could you please read the introduction?
Before she starts, Madam Chair, if Sonia can't get on, if we can contact the president, she could make the quorum to get this vote out today. See if she's available. Okay.
Okay, Christina, could you contact the president to see if she could get on so we can get this vote out for this grant?
I'll do my best. I've messaged her a couple of times today and haven't heard from her this morning yet. I know she's got a couple of meetings, but I will definitely try.
All right, thank you.
Christine, not to interrupt, we were talking about making the vice president able to do the same duties as the president when not available. Is Shane available to make a quorum?
I'm sorry. Sanye's still getting in. I spoke with the clerk.
Okay.
We're gonna have her to log out and try to log back in.
All right, thank you. Just trying to do the emergency stuff.
Okay.
Thank you, my vice chair.
No worries.
Okay, Ms. Orr, you want to proceed?
Here, did you want to wait until Sanye gets on, or?
Okay, may we wait 5 to 10 minutes for Alderwoman? Okay, so we can wait 5 to 10 minutes. All right. I apologize. As my vice chair said, it is a summer session, so we are kind of, okay, he's on. All right. Okay, thank you, Alderwoman Sanye, for being consistent. Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please read the introduction?
Yes. Board Bill number 42, introduced by Alderwoman Pamela Boyd, an ordinance authorizing and directing the Director of the Department of Human Services on behalf of the City of St. Louis to accept a grant award from the Missouri Association of Area Agency on Aging in the amount of $95,000. MA4 will provide funds to the City of St. Louis, which are from a federal COVID-19 and influenza vaccine uptake initiative for older adults and people with disabilities grant from the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Community Living, ACL. The grant agreement period begins on March 22nd, 2023 and ends April 15th, 2024. Appropriating said funds and authorizing the Director of the Department of Human Services upon approval of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to expend such funds as permitted by the grant award and containing an emergency clause.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. We do have speakers on for this, and they are city staff, and I don't think they have to be sworn in. Am I correct?
We have been swearing them in as well.
Oh,
Okay.
have we? Okay,
Pardon me, just to interrupt, but we do need to take a roll with Sonia on there. 'Cause
Right.
it's okay,
Okay.
and then if I do have to leave, we have a vote for the roll, so you have previous roll available to you.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call?
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman,
Present.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Switzer. Alderwoman Sanye.
Present.
Chair Boyd.
Present.
We have 3 present.
And we have a quorum, but we do also need to take the minutes, a vote on the minutes.
Right. See, that's why you the vice chair.
I just been down here too long. I do this in my sleep.
So we're going to take a vote on the minutes from June 29th.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Switzer. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Chair Boyd.
Aye.
We have 3 aye votes.
Okay, next. Now we will have the swearing in of the speakers. Madam Clerk, would you please swear in the speakers?
Can everyone raise the right hand? Do you affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so first we have on here, is the first speaker is Anicia Stover. And so Anicia, you want to speak in regards to this grant?
Yes, I just have a few minutes of comments, so feel free to jump in at any point. Good morning. My name is Annalisa Stover, and I'm the director of the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging. We are the aging division within the Department of Human Services, and our director, Adam Pearson, is here today. He's going to speak momentarily. But thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this morning about our services and the Vaccine Initiative Board Bill number 42. Just a very brief overview about the services we provide. We provide services to any older adult or adult with disability living in the city of St. Louis. Last fiscal year, we provided 861,126 units of service to over 9,680 unique clients. So we provide services across the city. In each part of the city, we're reaching out to older adults and adults with disabilities. Some of the services we provide include Meals on Wheels, case management, transportation, senior center services, health and wellness classes like Tai Chi and Walk with Ease, benefits assistance, legal services, minor home repair, and much more. We welcome the opportunity to come to any of your neighborhood meetings or other community meetings and talk to residents about the services that we provide. So today we're here to talk about Board Bill number 42. This board bill, as mentioned, is asking for the ability to accept funds from the Missouri Association of Area Agencies on Aging to provide vaccine assistance. So in collaboration with the Department of Health, this $95,000 would be used to contract with our existing network of aging service providers to host vaccine events at senior centers, to call older adults and alert them about the services and see if they would like to participate, also to market to the community and let them know that they're welcome to attend, to distribute flyers about the vaccine clinics, provide transportation to the events, and much more. By April 15th, 2024, with this funding, we would distribute 1,000 flyers, provide at least 500 units of telephone reassurance and rides to vaccine clinics, and seek to vaccinate, provide boosters or flu shots to over 300 individuals. This work builds on the previously successful work we did during the early years of the pandemic, transporting older adults to vaccine clinics, hosting vaccine clinics at senior centers, doing outreach calls to over 1,800 Meals on Wheels clients, distributing over 2,500 COVID-19 test kits, working with the Department of Health to vaccinate over 350 homebound clients and caregivers, and providing boosters to 110 people. I did want to mention that previously we collaborated with the Health Communication Research Laboratory at Washington University, and we distributed these booklets which showed older adults how to test themselves. And there's this picture of an individual, which you can't really see, but he is in fact testing himself. And so we distributed that and found that to be important because we wanted to make sure that people were testing themselves correctly so that they could get the correct results and know the next steps they needed to take. So with that, I appreciate your consideration and I yield to questions.
Does any committee members have any questions, or any other persons that's on this call have any questions for them? Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Mr. Adam Pearson. She
All
probably
right.
took your thunder, huh? So you don't have any left to say.
No, Annalisa did a phenomenal job, and I just want to say on the record that I appreciate her leadership at the St. Louis Area Agency on Aging. They've been able to assist thousands upon thousands of older adults in the region, and so she has my utmost appreciation for that. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, hold on.
Hold on a second. I don't have it disabled, so I'm not sure what's going on. Give me a second to figure it out.
Well, in the interest of time,
ahead.
while we're waiting.
Try now.
Oh. Let's try it again. Here we go. Perfect. Can you all see that?
Nope,
No.
nothing came up.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I want to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to share some information with you. My name is Dr. Adam Cicero Pearson. I'm the Director of Human Services, and I'm here to give an update on the work that our Unhoused Services Division is doing for the community, which involves an overview of just general activities that we do and our plans for the winter and our a little bit of a glimpse into strategic planning moving forward. So I wanted to make sure that there might be some folks in the community who are on the call who are not fully aware of what DHS does. And so I wanted to give an opportunity to just kind of give a glimpse into that. So as Annalisa Silver had mentioned, St. Louis Area Agency on Aging is one of the 6 divisions we have under the auspices of DHS. The St. Louis Office on the Disabled is another division. The Office of Veterans Affairs, the Homeless Services Division, Youth and Family Division, as well as a fiscal team that helps to manage budgets and make sure that all of the funding that we're distributing out in the community is done so in an effective manner.
Mr. Pearson, could I interrupt real quick?
Yes,
And
please.
so, because I was listening and I was trying to pick up per this grant, this is for the COVID testing. That's what the grant's focus is.
So actually, I can take a step back. If you guys need to vote on the COVID testing grant now, I was going to jump into the Homeless Services presentation, but if you want me to stop and allow you all to vote, because this
Right,
is
that's another whole nother topic. So I knew we
Right.
would be on here for a minute with the homeless. That's why I tried to get the grant out. But now I have some information. So we're still gonna need, Christina, we're still gonna need the president to vote because the older person has to be present, so he can't vote. Am I correct?
Well, if you take a vote on Board Bill 42 now before the discussion,
He'll be okay.
if you do it
Okay.
now.
Okay, because that's what I know. I'm watching the clock because I know he has to leave.
Mhm.
He's trying to talk.
Well, I don't believe this will be too controversial, so we could vote and then you can take all the information in.
Okay, all right, let's do it
There's
that way.
there's no protesters outside my door right now.
Right, and I don't hear any on mine either, Alderman Palmer. So let's take a vote on this grant because I do want to make sure we get that out. And then I do know the other conversation we are going to speak on will be homelessness. And so I want to make sure that we give them the time they need and then we don't interfere with Alderman Balmer when he has to leave. So let's take a vote on Board Bill 42. So Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Alderman Balmer,
Hi,
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Tanya.
Aye, and may I be added as co-sponsor?
Will do.
can we pass it in bank?
Yes, we can pass it in bank.
Chair Boyd,
Aye.
we have 3 aye votes.
Okay, thank you so much. So we got that out the way.
Thank
And
you.
so now we can take care of the other business that we want to discuss, which is the homelessness piece. And so now, Mr. Pearson, you're on. You're on mute.
Okay, can you all see my screen again?
Yeah, we can see your screen and hear you. Okay.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So these are our 6 divisions. And I went through some of those already, but I wanted to dive into some of the work that our unhoused services division engages in on a day-to-day basis. First, we do a fair number of outreach visits to the community. So we have individuals on our team who go out under bridges and in parks, various encampments, visiting with people on the streets just to build relationship with them and build connection with them, to offer them services, referral into services, referral to the coordinated entry housing prioritization list, bus passes. A lot of times outreach for us looks as simple as just having a conversation about how they're doing that day or giving them a bottle of water when it's really hot outside. So that makes up a lot of our outreach activities. We also have the collaborative applicant and grant recipient activities. And so for this, we are the collaborative applicant for the St. Louis community of, Continuum of Care. And as such, our role is to work with the Continuum of Care to submit the major application to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to receive project recipient funds for all of the fantastic homeless services programs that are being done in the community. And we are also engaging with the COC as the registrant for the COC in order to receive those funds from HUD. We also oversee the tiny house expansion project located on Martin Luther King and Jefferson. We just recently reached 100 beds for that project, so we are very excited about that. We started this project because we wanted to make sure there was a broad portfolio of different types of housing and shelter in the community, and I think that represents our approach there. We have a number of relationships that we foster with providers out in the community with both our granting activities and as well as just being a source of counsel and advice for organizations that want to work with the unhoused, but perhaps need a little bit of clarity on how to do so. And then we collaborate with the health department. Dr. Halachweo Davis and I have been speaking frequently on our relationship with the Department of Health and making sure that we have a stronger relationship moving forward, since a lot of the work that we do just naturally overlaps with some of the work that they do. And then, of course, we have engagement with the Board of Aldermen as needed. So this photo is just a photo of the tiny house project. Just kind of small buildings. If you haven't been out there, I would check it out. Okay, so this is a programmatic snapshot of the different types of supports that DHS provides for services to the unhoused in the community and the organizations that do that work. So first and foremost, thank you so much to the board for approving Board Bill 2 for permanent supportive housing, rapid rehousing. That was $18 million that went out into the community that we were able to support, as well as Board Bill 116, which was housing stabilization. And so that's just kind of a snapshot of the capacity that you have enabled us to provide to the community. So currently we manage 41 million in grants. And this is just kind of a breakdown across 76 projects of the different types of projects and housing that we're able to support. 12.4 million in rental assistance that helped around 5,000 individuals in St. Louis. Emergency shelter worth 7.2 million, 6.2 million for rapid rehousing across the region, permanent supportive housing for 5.6, and it goes on and on. And so you all helped to enable this work to happen, and I greatly appreciate that. There's a lot to be said about the work that the city is doing and the fact that we carry a lot of responsibility and some of the weight on making sure individuals are supported in housing. And so just for, this data is available publicly, but I wanted to capture some of the disproportionate usage and utilization of beds across the city and the county, and then later across the Missouri region. So as you can see, St. Louis City has a drastically smaller population than St. Louis County. But according to the latest point in time count, which was a count on January 25th, where providers, advocates, and volunteers went out into the community to identify the number of individuals who are unhoused. According to that count, the city had 809 individuals utilizing emergency shelter beds, up from 775 at the same point last year. The county had 177, up from 122. For permanent supportive housing, the city had 1,767 units, up from 1,701 units that were being utilized compared to the county's 425. And so we carry a lot of that weight, and the department is doing a lot of the work to support these individuals. So this is just another way of me giving my gratitude to the staff of DHS and the mayor's office and Board of Aldermen for providing a lot of the funding that helps support this work, even though we carry a lot of the weight for homeless services in the region moving forward. So these are the total point in time counts. So on January 25th, there were 106 unsheltered individuals, 337 individuals in transitional housing, and then 809 individuals currently in emergency shelters. So we talked about the amount of responsibility that the city carries, and I think this also translates to the number of permanent supportive housing beds and the percentage of our total beds that are permanent supportive housing. And so this graph just kind of gives an example of the various breakdown across different COCs in the state. Joplin, Springfield, St. Joseph, St. Louis County, the balance of state, which is all the other areas in the state that are not served by a single COC. So out of all of those regions, I have here highlighted in red the St. Louis City region, and the fact that we serve, 47% of our sheltering capacity is with permanent supportive housing, which far outpaces any of the other COCs and any of the other regions. So I think we're doing a decent job with making sure that our portfolio of permanent supportive housing is increasing year by year, and I want to make sure that we keep that going. So this is just a snapshot. Again, this is data from ICA, which is the Institute for Community Alliances. They're the data, the data vendor that we work with to make sure that we assess all of the data being put into the homeless management information system. And so this data is across the fiscal year last year. So the majority of individuals we served were male, and there were some female. And then less than 1% were individuals who identified as trans or had not identified a single gender. And then, of course, across the last fiscal year, again, the majority of individuals we served were Black, some were white, and then the second highest group was individuals who identified with multiple races. I thought this information was interesting from the past fiscal year. Just kind of gives us an example of where individuals stated that they had slept the previous night when we had surveyed them in shelter. And so 1,300 individuals out of the 2,700 individuals who were surveyed last year stated that the previous night they had lived in a place not meant for human habitation. So maybe a car, under a bridge, in an abandoned building with no utilities, for example. 695 of that 2,700 had lived in an emergency shelter or were living in a hotel with an emergency shelter voucher at some point. 164 stated that they were staying with family, and 159 stated that they were living with friends. So I thought that that was just a good snapshot of where individuals came from in regards of their prior living destination. One of the things that I wanted to highlight, especially given the department has the Office on the Disabled, and we, want to make sure that we're paying special attention to individuals who have disabilities. This is just kind of a snapshot over the past fiscal year of how many individuals stated that they had a disabling condition. And so this is defined as any individual that had a health condition that impacted the way that they're able to complete their daily activities. It could be mental, it could be physical, any of those. So the majority said that they did have a disabling condition, some of them being permanent conditions, some of them being temporary, but we thought that that was a fairly significant statistic to highlight. So I wanted to talk about the winter plan overview and reflect that in 2022, the approach was slightly different than what the department had taken in the past. In 2022, we elected to build into contracts with some of our operators that winter and overflow beds were required to be in continuous 24/7 operation throughout the entire winter, which we defined as December 1st through March 31st. All of these spaces with winter and overflow beds need to provide wraparound services and additional supports. We wanted to expand the partnership we had with our data contractors, ICA, to provide support for record keeping and data keeping, making sure that all of the clients we served in winter operations were accounted for, and then become a little bit more aggressive with the number of bus passes that we were providing folks to make sure that they had access to transportation for the services that they needed. So that was, that worked well for us in 2022, and I wanted to carry that on into winter 2023. And I want to say, or at least I want to mention that over the coming weeks, I plan on engaging in conversations with the Continuum of Care for what their plans are and how we can coordinate and best work together to get people housed and get people served in the winters. This is kind of what we're thinking through as a department right now, but obviously we are not the sole operators in homeless services in the region. So I think the Continuum of Care plays a vital role in this, and we need their feedback as well. But I want to continue with all winter and overflow beds requiring to be in continuous 24/7 operation with wraparound services. And I also want to make sure that the $1 million we have as a balance in unused funds for emergency shelter are designated to the community. And so we are planning on putting out an RFP for that $1 million over the coming weeks, and stay tuned for what that looks like. So hopefully we can have shelter providers who are willing to step up and take on some individuals and bring them inside when it's cold. We want to support and advise current shelters on expanding capacity. So there are at least a couple of shelters and organizations that I know of that want to serve more individuals. And so they're coming to DHS for some advice and some clarity and perspective on how to do that with a data-centric perspective. We want to pursue extension of safe haven programming. And so that is extremely vital to the community as well. Just a place where people can come, get inside when it's really cold, stay for however long they need to stay. Continue to collaborate with the continuum of care, as I had mentioned, and then to continue to support all of our vendors with rigorous data keeping records or methods.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Alderman Balmer, would you please do the recommendations for in bank and to pass the board bill 42? I'm telling you, it's Monday. It's not Thursday. People don't want to believe me, but it is Monday.
Okay. If we need to revote with, we need to get a motion and a second, don't we?
Yes, sir.
All right, so if you request, I'll make a motion.
So I request that we move board bill 42, pass it through the Health and Human Services Committee.
So moved.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Pearson, thank you very much
Well,
for
I think we need to vote, don't we, again?
Oh, yeah. Look, I'm trying to hurry up with this one because I'm like, what are we doing? We keep dragging on this grant. Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Alderman Balmer,
Hold on, I gotta switch my camera view. Okay, there we go. I was taking a nap, so I turned the camera around. No. Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Sanye,
Aye.
Chair Boyd.
Aye.
We have 3 aye votes.
Thank you so much. We finally passed that grant out. I appreciate it. And so I was looking at the speaker. Were you finished, Mr. Pearson? I apologize.
I was not, but if you need me to be finished, I can be finished.
Okay, because I didn't know if Ms. Russell had something to add to what you were presenting and Ms. Cross had something to add, because you all have like 4 other speakers. So I didn't know if you all had something to add. And I guess my question is, I do remember back in 2020 or 2018, the Black Caucus had sent a letter to say we wanted to sit down with city and county elected officials to look at addressing the homeless situation within the city of St. Louis. And so what I'm hearing is this is the presentation you all are giving us, is the plan that you have for the homeless. And so I guess, is this a plan that you all are presenting? Or is this for city or just city, or is it city and county? Because homelessness we are being impacted from the county also. So that's why I'm asking the question.
No, you are exactly correct. So right now, this is the city's plan. And I want to emphasize again that the work we do is in collaboration with the continuum of care. And I want to get some of their feedback as well, because that could impact this plan. That is the St. Louis City continuum of care. Now, to the point that you're highlighting about regional collaboration, we welcome a conversation with anybody and everyone. One of the things that I was going to highlight in the presentation was the need to work regionally and collaboratively with myriad providers and partners, industry leaders, consultants, to make sure there's a holistic approach that is being taken to get folks housed. And then, there's obviously the short-term strategy for serving them during the winter, but then there's a long-term strategy for what that looks like 1 year out, 5 years out, 10 years out. And so this plan right now is just a preliminary idea for you all to see what we're thinking and what we are going to put in motion. And then it could be amended a bit based on what, what some of the feedback we hear from the COC is.
Okay, all right. And so, how much more did you have of your presentation?
I had maybe 6 slides, but honestly, I mean, a lot of it was very much geared towards the strategy looking forward and the need to collaborate more with various departments in the city, with other folks in the region who were engaged in the issue. So I know there's a probably generous amount of discussion that folks want to have. So I can just stop the presentation there and answer any questions if you all have them.
Okay, because one, I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to speak on it. And we were given 3 minutes, and I apologize. We were given 3 minutes for each presentation. And so I do see that we have Ms. Russell as a person on the speaker. Is she here? Is Ms. Russell here to speak?
Ms. Russell is not here, but Nancy Cross
Okay.
is here.
No, I see Nancy's hand, so
Okay.
I knew, yeah, she would come up next. So Ms. Cross, you want to speak?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. The reason we had the names listed for Clerk Kennedy was so that if you had questions, you would know who the 4 panelists might be that might be able to answer questions as we went through. I think it makes sense for Director Pearson to finish his presentation, which talks about the short-term and long-term plan and trying to come to some understanding of how we are going to do a regional approach. The long-term plan is in the beginning stages, but we have to start having more conversations with the county, St. Charles County. We get unhoused people from Jefferson City in Southern Illinois, as well as people from other parts of the United States. So that is part of the outline he's going to go over. Is just the beginning stages of a long-term plan. But we wanted people to know what we're getting ready to do for this winter at a minimum.
And
So
so
I think it makes sense to hear the rest of his plan may answer some of your questions.
And that's fine. And so I guess my question, because I keep hearing for the winter, and so we don't have anything in place for currently right now.
Oh, we do. We have plenty of
Okay.
things in place, but usually the winters had become an issue a couple of years ago. So we're trying to do the winter plan, which is a little bit different and has more shelters engaged than the summer plan does.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
Ms. Pearson. So Ms. Cross has given up her time, and so we don't have Ms. Russell here, so you can complete.
All right, let me share my screen again. All right, can you all see that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So, all right, so I went over the winter operations and that we wanted to build on some of that success from the previous winter with continuing with the 24/7 emergency beds being open, expanding capacity with the $1 million to that we have left as balances for unused funds to expand emergency bed capacity. Extend safe haven programming and improve data collection efforts. And so those are the plans right now for the winter. And then we're going to be talking with the COC about what they're doing and how we can best support that work. So the intermediate long-term plan would be working with various stakeholders, as I had mentioned before, who know about regional homelessness, working with individuals who have the capacity to expand permanent supportive housing and wraparound services. There needs to be more regional mental health programming and substance abuse programming. So much of what we see out in the community is individuals who have a severe or persistent mental illness who are not currently being serviced. And so we want to make sure that we can pair mental health services, substance use services with the ability to house individuals so that they could start, accomplishing the goals that they want to accomplish and live a little bit more independently in the community. As far as partnerships and strategy development, we obviously need more permanent supportive housing. I had mentioned before that St. Louis City carries a lot of the load and the percentage of our housing that's permanent supportive housing. And I think that it's great that we're leading in that effort, but we need more. So the demand for permanent supportive housing consistently outpaces the supply. And I think that is a vital function of DHS to help fund that, and for us to utilize funds to get out in the community and make sure that the folks who want to provide PSH are having an opportunity to do so. Work more with substance use providers or substance abuse providers for outreach. When our outreach teams go out, we're encountering a lot of individuals who have a number of different types of issues with substance abuse. And so I want to make sure that it's not just DHS going out, it's DHS plus. Some of these other organizations are already engaged in the community and doing outreach. And I want to make sure we highlight that work moving forward, and bring a closer collaboration in for that effort. And then partnership with major healthcare systems is absolutely essential. I think what we've seen in the past, especially me, I'm a former shelter operator. I've seen it where hospitals drop clients off to a shelter in a hospital gown, or clients who had just gotten out of surgery who were brought to shelters. And the role of a shelter is, obviously to provide a place to be for a temporary period of time, but we need more capacity to serve individuals who are being discharged from hospitals. And I think that we could stand for a little bit more collaboration with hospitals to determine a next step for some of these individuals who might need a more acute or subacute appropriate type setting for their healthcare needs. Some of the challenges that we've seen are that we have increased funding for homeless services, but the numbers have stayed the same in some areas in terms of the number of individuals who are on the streets. The number of encampments, according to some of the reports that we've received, are increasing. And so we want to make sure we pay special attention to the encampments and, doing outreach, making sure that people are provided with services that they need. Staff retention is a challenge across the industry, and it's not just DHS. It is a lot of our providers as well. So we want to make sure that we can retain the staff that we need to actually do the outreach, do the grants management, and all of that vital work. Some of the opportunities that we have, I had mentioned before, but partnering with thought leaders in the area and getting their feedback on how we can best support some of these efforts to get folks housed. You had mentioned the Black Caucus, and I'm willing to have a conversation with them. I think we want to partner with anybody who is willing to, get involved and advise on a good strategy. And then build more collaboration with the county to better serve the individuals who are coming over from the county, help them build capacity, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to end by giving my appreciation to these individuals. The Human Services team has been fantastic. This is my third month on the job. And I think, I'm very grateful that they've oriented me and are getting me comfortable in the role. I want to thank Amy, who was on the call, who leads the Homeless Services Division, Amy Bickford. I want to thank the Office of the Mayor. Nancy is my supervisor, and so she only gives me a hard time maybe a couple of days of the week. But I want to thank her and Mayor Jones for their feedback and their support. The COC and community organizations, again, DHS cannot do this alone, and so the COC is a vital partner in the work of getting folks housed. And then, of course, the Board of Aldermen who've supported us immensely in the past, challenging us to be more aggressive in certain areas, and then also giving us funding to actually do a lot of the work. So that's all that I have. I can take any of your questions, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pearson. Ms. Sonnier, do you have any questions?
I do. I know you mentioned the city outreach workers. Could you just describe a little bit like what their role is, what they do, what that process is like, and specifically when they come into contact with unhoused, with members of our unhoused community?
Absolutely, yeah. So, client services coordinators are, they are the team that leaves the building every day, meets with individuals on the streets and encampments, various places where folks who are unhoused might spend time. They open up a conversation with just good morning, good afternoon. Hey, what do you need from us? What do you need as far as services? How's your health doing? Do you need medical care of any sort that we can plug you into? Do you have any idea of where you're going to stay tonight? Do you need food? And so it's a lot of those questions that we ask to gauge the level of support that somebody is going to need. Sometimes folks don't want to have a discussion with us, and that's fine. And so what we'll do is we'll make sure that we've at least made contact, perhaps leave them with some bus passes in case they need to get around to the community or get into our offices so that we can do a little bit more one-on-one case management with them indoors, where it's a little bit more climate controlled. And so, so that's a lot of the work that they do outside. In the office, they work with the team to make sure that the folks that they contact in the community are entered into our data keeping system, HMIS, making sure that folks are plugged in to the coordinated entry and housing prioritization list if they want to be. And so if there's an opportunity for them to get housed, then we can, plug them into housing very quickly. So those are the primary roles of the client services coordinator in the office. Did that answer your question?
It does. And when city outreach workers are in the community dealing with unhoused members, are they with police officers, or do police have a role in that process?
Yeah, excellent question. So sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't with police. And so in the past, if we've come across a location where we feel like we need a little bit more support from the police department, there are a couple of officers that we typically call who are very much engaged with the unhoused population, who know people, they know the system, they're able to build rapport really quickly, they're very approachable. And so we work with those specific officers to do visits every now and then if we feel like we need a little bit more support. But we don't need support all the time like that. We do try to make sure that our staff goes out in twos or in pairs, just so that, we can have a couple of people on the scene to answer questions and support each other. But we do enjoy a close relationship with the Metropolitan Police Department.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that all the questions you have?
In the interest of time, that's all my questions. I'll just reach out to Mr. Adam on a separate time to, there's plenty to talk about.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. I see Alderwoman Spencer is on. Alderwoman Spencer, did you have any questions? Okay. So did anyone else on here have any questions? Because I had some questions. She said I do, and she has strep. Okay, so she's gonna ask in the chat. So while she is typing, I can ask questions, and as I get them, then I can give them to you, Mr. Pearson. Is that okay with you?
That works.
Okay. All right. And so I think what I'm looking at in regards to our homeless situation, I think that it's a whole, like I said, it's a holistic approach. It's not a one-stop shop. And I'm just curious on how are you all picking areas, where are you going to address this issue, and or are you just hitting a certain part of the city, or how does that done?
Yeah, I feel like that's probably a two-part response. So I would say the first part deals with the outreach. And certainly when we get calls from the community, some of the calls are routed through the Citizen Service Bureau. And so we're able to identify specific addresses or specific areas in which folks have questions or concerns about individuals who are unhoused. Sometimes it's something as simple as a wellness check. You know, we saw this individual on this corner. Could somebody go out and see if he needs any help? And so we direct some of our outreach activities based on the calls that we get and based on some of the referrals that are sent to us from the Citizen Service Bureau. And that could be up north, south, you know, east side of the city, west side of the city. So our outreach workers are all over the place every day in St. Louis. And then secondly, for the concentration of individuals who are unhoused, I think obviously there are a lot of services that are sort of centered downtown. But I would love to see if we could have, you know, smaller shelters supported in other areas where there may be significant need for it. As of right now, if you look at a map, and I don't have this map in my presentation, but a map of different shelters, or shelters and permanent supportive housing. There's some up north, south, east, and west. And so we do have some that are spread out throughout. But as I had referenced before, the supply does not meet the demand. And so certainly I would want to work with business leaders and nonprofits in the community who want to start up programs and encourage them to do so, you know, give them as much backing as we can to make sure that they're housing people where they are.
Okay. Alderwoman Spencer said she was told, I'm trying to read it. She said she was told that the Continuum of Care voted that a new nonprofit was named as the collaborative applicant. Can you clarify?
Yes, and so the Continuum of Care, I believe in 2023, this spring, voted for an organization called House Everyone STL to become the new collaborative applicant. We are waiting for clarification and guidance on the Department of Housing and Urban Development as that moves forward. And so the COC voted for that to happen. I think they're in the process of updating their charter. I don't know if it's been fully updated as of today to change the charter from the St. Louis City being the collaborative applicant to another entity. So that's kind of where we stand right now. For the purposes of the HUD notice of funding availability that went out, I guess, a month or so ago, St. Louis City is the collaborative applicant in that system just because we hadn't yet gotten clearance to change the collaborative applicant from HUD. So we're serving that role and the city is, you know, applying for the funding and will continue to distribute those funds until HUD tells us otherwise. And then the second question, we have a large number of unhoused downtown and the numbers seem to be rising in Soulard. Do we currently have a plan for the large encampment along the river just south of the steam plant? If I'm thinking correctly, that is the large encampment that was by, I guess, the casino landing. That's my assumption. So what we do is typical of any encampment, we send our outreach workers. Yes, okay. We send our outreach workers to those sites. I think that is a site in which we are joined by the police department just for safety concerns. And our outreach work goes as continues, you know, bus passes, making sure that individuals who want housing are plugged into the prioritization list, making sure that we're connecting folks with substance abuse services, mental health services. So that's the plan for right now, is being aggressive as we can with some of that outreach. Where can we point residents who are dealing with specific issues, such as defecation on their property on a regular basis? So I think that, and Nancy would you recommend the Citizen Service Bureau for that sort of issue? You're on mute.
Yes.
They have tried CSB very unhappily. Okay, well, I think that's a conversation to certainly have with CSB. I know that we've been collaborating with them quite a bit in the past. And so I can't speak to any CSB issues, but I'd say just keep calling. I know that's not a satisfactory answer, but keep calling to get it on the record, I would say.
So, Madam Chairwoman, if I could clarify two things.
Yes, ma'am.
So first is that people should still report it into CSB because that creates a record for us, which is helpful. As many of you know, with problem properties and things of that nature, the more information we have on record, the better it is in the long run. And secondly, there is a discussion, and at some point, we will be able to be more inclusive with people outside of the departments as to what we think we might be able to do with the large encampment on the riverfront, as well as many of the other locations. The issue is that there are many people who, although we offer them housing and we offer them services, they refuse. And so there's not a lot we can do if people keep refusing services, and not have them be outside. We haven't, some people will go into rehab for a couple of days and then they sign themselves up. We'll put them into other types of situations for clinics, and they will sign themselves out. So it's difficult for us to follow. And the last thing I just want to clarify is when Director Pearson is referring to police, the police that we're working with are actually, and I don't see Alderwoman Sonia on the line anymore, but the police have a group of officers who actually do a lot of work with the unhoused community and are known to the unhoused community and approach and are able to offer services to people and provide people with numbers and then let the staff know either in Adam's office, in the DHS or other departments where they may need to go to help. So it's not, it's people that are really well known to police that are actually known to the unhoused community. So, and they have assisted us in a number of different places around the city as well, because they know who we're working with. So, thank you.
Thank you. And so Alderwoman Spencer did say, are we considering an official encampment?
We created a safe haven and funded a safe haven through St. Patrick's Center. We are not looking at an official encampment at the riverfront at this time. That has not been raised, but I will put it in the mix as well. But that was not raised as an official thing. And we are inhibited in our ability to try to create housing in a number of communities because people voted, Board of Aldermen previously voted that they didn't want unhoused communities in their neighborhoods, which makes it difficult because the citizens and the people that are unhoused actually live in a lot of the neighborhoods, and it might be better if we were able to establish some type of housing for people where they would be able to get services in where they're from rather than traveling around the city. So.
And so I guess my issue, I think it was how the encampment was going to be placed in those communities, and that's why people weren't comfortable with it. But I think with the encampment, because I hear Alderwoman Spencer's concern, but in the North Quarter, the concern over there is we have a lot of vacant properties, and that's where we're having the homeless going into those. And I'm not going to even say a lot of them are homeless. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that they have mental and drug and alcohol issues. And they are going to those properties, and that's where they house themselves. A perfect example is on the 6100 block of Martin Luther King. And so I have spoken to that owner, and so we're going to aggressively come at that owner because now they have couches. They have literally set up a house on the street. So they have couches, they have tables, chairs, they had portable not refrigerators, but it was like a house, and so now there's all up and down Martin Luther King. So now we're aggressively coming after that building owner because we're telling him, you can't allow this behavior to be here. But I think, Nancy, what's really frustrating me on that piece is you have Wellston CDC, you have all these people that's saying that they're helping, and they're not helping these people because this is where they're living, on the street, outside this building. And so it's just it's blocking the whole sidewalk. That's what it's doing. It starts from the whole block because it's the old Kresge store. And then at the 2516 Annie Malone Drive, they have boarded that building, they have secured that building. Those people took chainsaws, cut the boards down and the chains away, and now they are taking the building over. So I understand Alderwoman Spencer's concern, but now it's more of a safety issue. And so I'm just trying to figure out, how do we address this? And I know you can't help everybody. I get that. Everybody can't be helped. But I just see that our focus is mostly downtown. And what I'm hearing is downtown and over there by the casinos and stuff. So what about the other parts of the cities? How are you getting teams over to those areas to address those areas?
Adam and Amy can add to this, but I would say that we are all over the city. The issue is that right now we have 3 outreach workers. So we are all over the city. One of the things that is more helpful is, I wrote down those addresses, is getting more information to us where people are finding unhoused groups of people so that we can address that going forward, because we only have as much, the city is 62 square miles. We have 3 people covering the entire city. The downtown gets attention, but it's not getting any more attention than a couple of places north of Del Mar that we've had a number of peoples in. Old Bert area, I think it's the old 18th ward. I'm not really sure the numbers now, but we've had people up in there where they also have done the same thing with taking over some housing. The difficulty is having enough people and being able to connect people that are willing to go. As Director Pearson said, you have to have contact with people so many times to get them to feel comfortable to move and everything. And there are people across the street from the city hall, and what we found with that group of people is that they're not actually unhoused. They just go to hang out there. So we have to differentiate between the different groups of people that we're seeing outside more in the summer than the winter. And that we are around the city, but the more people provide us with information, either through the CSB or through contact with DHS, to tally what Director Williams, Director Pearson was saying was on the data. We cut the data so that we know where people are, so we have information to be able to help people and know, like Nancy Cross was at, Del Mar and Kings Highway. Now I just ran into her up on Goodfellow, so we'll be able to see how many people we actually do have and where they are. So it takes patience, and it's a long-term process, and making it regionally, which you mentioned, which Director Pearson mentioned, is really going to be the solution, because we can't fix this just in the city because a lot of the people aren't from the city.
Right. And so I guess my question is, because I heard him say, and you said you only have 3. So are you are looking at, like with other agencies to work with us to have the outreach people go out to assist them?
Yes, and so it's kind of a multi-pronged approach. So we are hiring for a couple of more of those outreach type positions. But then also I had referenced the need for collaboration with organizations that are currently doing outreach. And so, obviously we have a team that's going out, but there are several organizations out there that have teams that are also going out to serve folks. And so, so we can outreach, but I think, again, it kind of points to the need for a strategic approach, a systems level approach that looks at the amount of affordable housing stock that we have, how much permanent supportive housing we have out there, what is the capacity for services for outpatient mental health, inpatient mental health, outpatient substance abuse counseling, inpatient substance abuse counseling. All of the individuals on the streets that we see, maybe not all of them want housing. Maybe some of them might just benefit from mental health services. And once we can provide them with those services or get them plugged into services, maybe they'll change their mind on housing. Maybe they'll change their mind on any other services that we're able to provide. But I think it kind of speaks to the need for us to build some of that collaboration with the organizations that are already working in the field.
Okay, and I think, Amy, you had a comment, and your comment was with more staff and more relationships with other agencies that do outreach will allow our teams to focus on smaller areas with intentional relationship building, which is what is needed to gain trust and build permanent housing. And so let me be real clear. I understand that this is not a one-time fix. I get this. And I do understand that our homelessness, we have been dealing with this before you all even came to the table. I'm just concerned because I just keep seeing us putting Band-Aids on problems, and I don't see where it's a fix. So I see a cancer and I don't see a cure. And that's what my concern is. And so I do know, and I think downtown and by the casinos are more noticeable because people are down there, so you really see them. But in communities, you don't see them because, like I said, they use the vacant properties. And so then they have, their own little groups in there. And so I heard Nancy say, they need to call CSB. Well, the challenge is, because I'm constantly getting complaints, we're calling CSB, we don't get an answer, they put us on hold, nobody comes back to the phone. And so I'm trying to tell people, well, just do it online, try to do it that way if CSB is not responding. So we're having a problem with CSB. And you probably not aware right now, Nancy, but the residents are having a problem calling there because they can't get responses from CSB. So I'm kind of telling them, and my legislative assistant and my secretary are trying to walk people through on how to do it online. And so that might help them on that end. But I guess I'm just looking at these communities that are being, that's what we see is happening. They're being pushed from downtown and going into these communities, as Alderwoman Spencer is saying. And so now these communities are impacted with this. You only have 3 outreach people. And so I know it's St. Patrick's Center, and I can't remember the other organizations that's focused on homeless. And that's what I was asking, was St. Patrick's Center working with you all, and these other organizations working with you all for these outreach people to kind of help you all out? That's what I was trying to figure out.
Yes, we want to leverage every single partnership and opportunity we can, at least for outreach. And I want to make sure that we build our capacity to do so. And I think, as Amy had mentioned in the chat, it's easier to do that when we have a larger team so that we can focus on different areas and divide and conquer and delegate, that sort of thing. You mentioned that, there's a lot of Band-Aids being put on the issue of the unhoused population. I would say that the cure for getting folks in housing, the solution is more permanent supportive housing. And I know that is something that, the mayor's office has emphasized in the past. There are, folks on the board who have emphasized that as well. Certainly DHS has invested in permanent supportive housing as well. I think that, strategically moving forward with a regional approach, if the city could bolster the development of more permanent supportive housing, the county could, support the development of more permanent supportive housing, that could go a long way into actually getting people housed and getting people home, and pairing that with the supportive services that they need to live independently. Because I do want to highlight that simply plugging somebody into housing does not necessarily solve the issue on its own. Some people need to learn how to pay bills, and some people need consistent help with medication management. Some people have major disabilities that they need to manage with the housing. So it is a system-wide approach that we have started working on, a while back with the COC and the county. I think, continuing the work in a more concerted strategic effort could lead us to better outcomes, certainly.
Okay, thank you. So does anyone else have anything? I see people that are on, they're not elected officials, but I don't know if they were the legislative assistants or residents that wanted to have any kind of comment or anything in regards to the housing. And so just let me be very clear. I just know that this is only first part of this, and it's going to have to be further meetings with our committee to focus on the unhoused. But we have to make sure that we bring other people to the table to push this, because, I'm a person, I'm an action. I'm not just saying, okay, yeah, we need to do it. No, we need to do it. So if that means that we need to invite county agencies, other city agencies, other homeless shelters to be at the table, then that's what it'll be for us to address this. Because I really want to be aggressive with this. I don't want to keep dealing with saying we're going to fix it. I want to say, okay, we made a step, and so let's work it from that end. And so, Mr. Pearson, I'll probably follow up with you to try to see how we can put a plan together to start addressing this and be more proactive before the winter. I like that where you say, okay, I'm trying to get ready for the winter, so let's be more proactive and have these conversations so we can put this plan together to make it work.
Absolutely.
Okay. So on that note, does anybody else have any questions or anything? Okay, so do anybody have any announcements?
Well, Alderwoman Boyd, I thought we still had Angela Pearson and Amy Bickford as speakers.
That's what I had asked, and Amy had put her.
No, I'm not a speaker. This is Angela. I'm not a speaker. I'm just sitting in.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's what Nancy was saying. They were just there in case it was questions.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's what, and so Amy, she spoke. She let us know what her thoughts were. So did anybody else, Alderwoman Spencer, did you have any other questions or anything? Okay, so on that note, can we excuse any older people? Oh, she said not at this time. Okay, so can we do excuse of older people? Alderwoman Tyus and Alderwoman Schweitzer. Those were the two that weren't in attendance.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And so And then we have no announcements. And the only announcement I'm gonna have is we will probably be meeting again. And so, and I'll listen to my vice chair. I'll wait till we come back in session, but we will meet again to go over this, to finish working on it, to address it. And so, on that note, I'd like to call the meeting, to close the meeting. So I guess I'm the only person here, huh? Or,
That's what it looks like.
yeah, everybody left me here. I
Yeah.
told you it was, told you it was Monday. You didn't believe me. So on that note, we'll close the Health and Human Development Committee meeting. We'll close the meeting.
Meeting adjourned.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.